What is up, everyone? Let's talk about our assignment for today. We're going to be making a really simple text animation like the one you're seeing on your screen right now. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to be using Adobe Animate, and we're just going to be creating some really basic animation movements. I have noticed over the last few days that a lot of you are really struggling with basic understanding of how Animate works. So the purpose of today is to kind of get you more familiar with how Animate actually works so that we can hopefully get a better understanding and move ahead with this stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and say, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating a series of layers. Terrell is going to be on one layer, and then we're going to make tigers each additional one layer a piece, and then we're going to animate each one of those on. So I'm going to walk you guys through this really carefully so that you kind of understand. I'm going to explain a little as we go. So let's go ahead and jump on over into our screen. This is how my file ended up looking, and you can kind of see how I kind of animated it on. So we're going to work backwards from this today. So I'm going to come up and I'm going to hit File. I'm going to go New. You guys should already be on the new. Thing. Mine pops up on the wrong monitor, so I'm going to leave it at full HD, and I'm going to hit Create. And for me, my screen is all the wrong size, so I'm going to hit Show All. And that gives me kind of where I need to be. I actually may need to zoom out a little bit more, so I may just go down to 50%. That way I can see everything. So the very first thing we are going to do together is trying to rearrange my space here. You can't see me, but I'm like reaching way over here trying to get this stuff like arranged so I don't here you go. This is this is where my iPad is. I'm trying not to knock the iPad off because I actually use the iPad to control all the other cameras, and I can switch to all these different screens and do all these different things. So yeah, so here we go. I've got that moved. Let's keep going. What we're going to do today is start with one layer, and Terrell has a lot of letters, so I'm not going to make you animate everything in the word Terrell, but we are going to go ahead and start by double clicking on layer 1, and I am going to change the name of this to Terrell. That way we know. Make sure I'm on frame 1, and if you notice there's no bars or anything across here, you just literally have one frame. So I'm going to come to my text tool. You guys can choose whatever color you would like. I kind of tried to choose something that was like a school color. I left my font pretty good size, like 240 kind of works for me. And so I'm just going to click once, and I'm going to type Terrell for those of you who can't spell Terrell. All right, so here's the thing. There's a lot of misunderstanding about keyframes and how they work, so I'm going to try to walk through that just a little bit. A keyframe is a point that records basically position data, and a keyframe records where something is at a certain frame. So you can have several keyframes that change. Setting those and making sure they're right is why a lot of you were having problems. It's because you're doing your frames out of order, and it was a big problem. So let's take a look at this. I'm at frame 1. I want this to start off screen, so I'm going to move it off the stage. So here we go. I'm off stage. Now, here's my problem. I don't have any more frames. I want to make this last 3 seconds. So I'm going to come all the way down to frame 90, and I want to tell Animate that this needs to last 90 seconds. So how you do that is you right-click and you hit Insert Frame. And what this is going to do is when you hit Insert Frame, it's going to stretch everything out. And so that way you'll be able to have a space to animate and do things on. If you wanted this to be 4 seconds or 10 seconds, you would go all the way out and set that up so that's how long it would last. We're just going to do Insert Frame at 90 seconds. And now what has immediately happened is it has stretched this way out, and here we go, looking good, fantastic, life is great. I'm actually moving my iPad again because, I don't like where it is. I think that might be better. Okay, maybe. All right, we'll try that. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to set up, I've got a keyframe here, and this keyframe right here at the bottom tells me that this position is recorded. So I'm going to move ahead to frame 15. Now, what I had you doing before was you can right click and hit insert keyframe, but you don't even have to do that really. I'm going to move to frame 15 and I'm going to move my Terrell down. And it's going to automatically create a keyframe. Did you see that right there? It just popped up. And so now what I have is this position is recorded and this position is recorded. So it's like boom, boom. 15 frames later, boom. Now we have to tell Animate to animate this motion. So I'm going to right click on my space and I'm going to come up and click Create Classic Tween. And so what I get now is some motion. Yeah, there we go. Now, I'm a perfectionist, and I hate when things don't work right. It just annoys me. And I already see something wrong with this, so I'm going to fix it. If I watch this, it kind of moves down at an angle. So I'm gonna go back to frame 1, and I'm going to change the recorded position. And it's still kind of moving down at an angle. So I'm going to go to frame 1. I'm going to move it a little more. It's still, I went too far. So I just wanted to go straight down. Yeah, that looks pretty straight, so we're going to stick with that. Okay. So straight down, we're good. And next I want to go ahead and we're going to start moving on to the next part, to spell tigers. Now we're going to do tigers one letter at a time. So it's going to take a second to do this, but just, bear with me. We're going to get this knocked out. So I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to double click it and I'm going to label it T because, that's how you start tigers. And I'm going to take my text tool. Oh, I've nearly messed up. Oh, and this is the mistake that messed a lot of you up, is you weren't paying attention to what frame you were on when you're creating your layers. So let's go back. I'm still on 15, and if I had created it here, I technically could have done that, but I'm going to go ahead and just do it uniformly. I'm going to come back to frame 1, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make sure you're on frame 1. I'm going to click off the stage, and I'm going to type the letter T. I'm just going to click one time. I don't need to drag a box. Just click once, and there's my letter T. And I'm going to go ahead and scrub ahead. And I don't want my T to move until Terrell gets where it's supposed to be. So I'm going to come all the way to frame 15. And I know I told you you don't have to always set keyframes. But if no motion is happening, you have to set a keyframe because it becomes like a placeholder. So I'm going to right click here and I'm going to hit on frame 15 and I'm going to hit insert keyframe. And so now it doesn't move. So from here, in 10 frames, I want the T to move to its spot. So I'm going to go ahead, you know what, I'm going to do 15 frames. Just what the heck. I'm going to go to frame 30. And before I animate it, I'm going to come back because I want to add a little bit of rotation to this. So I'm going to just go ahead and rotate it just a little bit. And yeah, that's fine. I'm going to go to frame 30. You know what? I'm not going to rotate it. I'm going to come back. There's a reason why I did it this way. I forgot. So don't rotate it. Ignore that for now. I'm going to go to frame 30. I'm going to go ahead and move my T where I want it. So maybe right about here. I'm not looking for perfection. I just want you to be able to do this. So now it just kind of flops back and forth. Now I am going to go ahead and go back to frame 15, and I am going to rotate it here. Yeah, perfect. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click in between these 2 points, and I'm going to right click. I'm going to tell it to animate the time between, so I'm going to create a classic tween. And now it kind of looks like it flies in and kind of just gets in its spot. So there we go. So what I've noticed is the rotations don't actually animate like positions do, which I'm going to be honest, I don't know a lot about Animate. I'm not like a hardcore, really into this kind of Animate stuff. I'm really just kind of a novice at it. So I'm teaching you the basics that I know, and that's going to get you ready for the next class. But the rotations don't necessarily stick. So if you're trying to rotate it, you may have to do something like create a symbol, which I don't want to get into for this. But that's something you may have to do. So now we've got our T We're good at frame 30. We don't have to do anything else because it's just going to sit there because we're not telling it to move. So I'm going to come back to frame 1. I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to name it I. I'm going to come up with my text tool. I'm going to type an I. Look at there. I'm going to go ahead and come ahead to frame, because I'm going to have this not move until the T is in place. So I'm going to have it at frame 30. I'm going to right click. Actually, I changed my mind. I'm going to have it move 5 seconds after the T starts. So I'm going to move to frame 20. I'm going to right click. I'm going to hit insert keyframe. And now I'm going to go 15 seconds. So that's 5 seconds after this. And I'm going to actually, I'm not going to right click. All I need to do is move it. Ooh, I don't know if y'all can hear that, but it's raining outside. And so now it just kind of snaps. And so I'm going to do the same thing where I right click and I'm going to hit create classic tween. And now what I get is it just kind of moves on. I'm not going to do the rotation on that one, but you can if you want. Next, we're going to create a new layer. But I need to go back to frame 1 so I don't mess anything up. I'm going to name it G because G is the next letter. And in frame 1, I'm going to select my text tool. I'm going to type a G. I'm going to move ahead to 5 seconds later. And then I'm going to right click and hit insert keyframe, excuse me. Then I'm going to come ahead 15 seconds. And then I'm going to move my G right here. And it's, of course, it just snaps, but I'm going to right click and I'm going to hit create classic tween. And so now there we go. Back to frame 1. I'm going to create my E. And you guys can see that this is just really, really repetitive. There's not really much to this. It's just making sure that you follow the steps each time. I'm going to insert a keyframe to hold it. I'm going to move ahead 15 seconds. I'm going to go ahead and move my E where it goes. And now I'm going to right click and I'm going to hit create classic tween. And so here we go. And we got 2 more letters, R. I'm going to come back to frame 1 before I mess this up. Frame R. Alright, I'm going to come ahead 5 seconds after my last one, insert that keyframe, then 15 seconds later, and move it where it needs to go. Right click and create classic tween. Okay, and I've got 1 more letter, so I'm going to create 1 more. S. I'm going to come back to frame 1. Don't want to mess that up. Perfect. I'm going to come ahead to 5 seconds after my last one, right click, insert a keyframe, come ahead 15 seconds after that, position. Now I did not get mine exactly centered, and I'm not going to go back to do the work to do so. This isn't an exercise in perfection. Really and truly, I just want to see that you guys are getting these basic principles. So I'm not looking for something to be perfect. I just want to see that you can do the animation in separate layers. So a repetitive action means that you can definitely do this whenever you need to. And so I'm going to right click and finish this up and hit insert, create classic tween. And so now what I get is this. And if I go ahead and play it, you can see just kind of all falls in. Now you are free. You are absolutely free to animate this however you choose. If you want to have them come in from different sides or different angles, use a different font, use a different color. I just want it to say Terrell Tigers. And I want you to do it basically the same way that I'm doing it here. So make sure that you're kind of following along. When you're done with this, go ahead and come over to File. Make sure you save as first. And then after you save as, go back up to File, go to Export. We're going to export it as an animated GIF. And this is going to pop up. It's going to process, which we have seen many, many, many times. There we go. And so this looks good. I'm just going to hit save, and then I'm going to give it the name, Terrell Tigers, whatever you want to call it is fine. And I'm going to hit save. And then you're done. That's it. From here, you save your work. I hit Control S one more time. Go ahead and back out and exit. Make sure you submit that on Google Classroom, and you are done for the day. If you guys have any questions, raise your hand, or you can always send me an email or something, and I'll be glad to help you guys out. Hope you all have a great day.